So without further ado, Yobie.
Thank you very much, everybody. This is one of my favorite events in the Bay Area, but let me begin with, I apologize, I don't do PowerPoints, because PowerPoints is like cheating, you know, it's like you go read. And what I'm going to do today is I will walk you through my experience in the process of the companies I built, how we made them, and the things and how you go from an idea to crowdfunding to manufacturing. Hopefully I can cover this in 20 minutes. So quick background on myself, Yobie Benjamin. This year I won the Technology Pioneer of the Year Award with the World Economic Forum, which is the Davos conference, where all these like crazy people hang out and drink expensive wine, but they invite geeks like me occasionally. But other than that, I also founded several companies. One company I founded is a company called Avegant, where what we did is we invented a virtual retinal display. Many of you probably have heard of the Oculus Rift, which means you have a screen in your eye this close, that way. The Avegant Glyph does not have a screen. What we do is we project light through 2 million nanometers directly to your retina. So there is no screen. We're actually projecting to the back of your retina. And the net effect is like you have a headset, like your Bose headset, you click it down, and you have full HD capability and virtual reality capability on a form factor that's very thin. The other product that I did is called Skully Helmets. Skully Helmets is the first intelligent motorcycle helmet. It's notable, my friend over from Kickstarter just spoke. When I launched Avegant, I raised $1.5 million in Kickstarter in 30 days. And then when I launched the Skully helmet, I did $2.4 million in crowdfunding in 60 days. I did that in 60 days. Another company I just did is called Nixie. Nixie is actually a drone camera. So on your wrist, you take it out, it flies, it follows you, and takes your picture. And then it comes back to you. So it's a very interesting product. Another product that I have is called Kenzan, which is a device that measures your exact caloric output. So if you're on a diet and you're saying, I need to expend 1,200 calories for the day, it will actually measure the actual caloric output of your body accurately. So some of the projects that I'm doing right now, which form the basis of all this experience, and this is my favorite company of all time, is a company called Orphedia. And I want to give you you're the first to see this, by the way. So this is a chip, and this chip allows me to do 50 medical diagnostic tests, cancer markers, liver function, diabetes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, for the cost of about 10 cents per test. So to all of you who went to a clinic where you go you get your blood drawn, all I need is 1 drop of blood. 1 drop. Less than the blood that you need for a diabetic test, I can go diagnose 50 tests at 10 cents each. And my co-founder is hiding behind there somewhere. You know, Aaron, you better be ready to answer questions. But anyway, so one of the things that I talk about is like many of you here are probably really, really interested in a product, taking a product to market. Now, one of the things I always say is like, just because you think you have a cool product and then your mother says it's a really cool product, doesn't really make it that cool. It's really important for you to understand that your product is something that actually will meet a market demand, a market need, or a market desire. I mean, it doesn't have to be useful even. It's just that the market has to have it and has to buy it. Otherwise, what you're doing is a true garage project, which will be right on the garage, right above the refrigerator in your garage. The other thing that's very important in the development of product, whether it's software or hardware, is that the user interface, meaning the way a user interacts with it, and the user experience, meaning the way a user experiences a product, is absolutely critical. You cannot just go and expect to say, well, I did it on a sandwich board, and it does cool things X, it can launch me to space, but it's ugly. It has to be beautiful. And in fact, the favorite word that I've always used in product design is a product has to be delightful. And it's very difficult to explain to people what delightful means. Delightful means when you see the product, you use the product, you have this little glint of a smile in your face, and you say, like, that was an excellent, cool product. I really want it. It's pretty. To give you an example, one of the companies I invested in, and it's a software company, is a company called Zen Payroll. So many of you probably have heard that payroll is, you all have your pay slips, et cetera, et cetera. And, there's companies who do it, ADP, TriTech, whatever, all these payroll companies. What we decided in Zen Payroll was to make the coolest payroll system. We changed the design of everything in payroll, and to sign up for a payroll system is basically give me your email address, and that's pretty much it. The end result of this product was 2 years ago, we were funded by Kleiner Perkins and General Catalyst to the tune of $20 million. And this year, which is a little over 18 months, we just closed a round for $60 million at a $500 million valuation. And we process more payroll right now than probably the top, we're definitely now in the top 10 of payroll processors in the United States, and we will continue to expand. So now we have this great product. We've now taken it, we said, we're going to launch this, but we have no capital. And you have no capital, and you're saying, like, my mom really doesn't have that much money, nor my in-laws or my outlaws. It doesn't matter. So you go in this route. We're going to go crowdfunding. Now, a lot of people think that crowdfunding is an easy thing to do. It's probably one of the most difficult things you'll ever go through in your life. Crowdfunding begins 3 to 6 months before you even crowdfund. And the reason for that is you need to go and build up a community of supporters. And what do I mean by a community of supporters? People who will actually sign up on your mailing list, follow what you're doing, interact with you, interact with other people who are interested in what you're doing. If you do not, and I have a simple formula, because I've done this 4 times already, all of which were successful. If you don't have 150,000 organic, discrete followers in your community, 100, 150,000, 200,000, when you launch, if you don't have that number, you are most likely to fail and end up in the trough of death. What is the trough of death? The trough of death is you targeted yourself to raise 250, then you actually raise $251,000. Because guess what? No matter how much you raise in crowdfunding, it will never be enough. And then you go and say, I know it's not going to be enough, $250K, you're not going to return it. You're just simply not going to go out there and say, we're going to return it. So what do you have? Why is it the trough of death? Because 250 will not even get you beyond your first true prototype. You still have to raise money. So it's really important to have enough money to take you at least to your first full prototype. The only way you're going to do this is if you have a mailing list, literally a mailing list. People say your social network, the number of followers you have in Facebook, the number of followers you have in Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. All of that's useful. But the single most important way to sell during your crowdfunding campaign is through a mailing list of dedicated followers and community members. You don't have 250,000, 150,000 to 200,000, you're not going to succeed, period. End of story. Your first 48 hours in crowdfunding is critical. If you do not meet close to your goal by the end of the second day, you are also toast. It's not going to happen. It's just that's the way crowdfunding happens. It goes up 2 days, go down. By the day 29, it goes up again, and that's it. In between day 29, where people are saying, oh, it's my last chance to get that wonderful honeybee hive, you're not going to make anything in the middle. It's really beginning and end. So that's absolutely critical for you to go and think through. Your video, by the way, that you build for your Kickstarter or your Indiegogo campaign is absolutely critical also. It's going to be your first major expense, barring the fact that if you might have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a cousin or an in-law, outlaw who's actually into video production, it'll be one of your most time-intensive activities. So the whole point, though, about crowdfunding, and I want to mention this because a lot of people who do crowdfunding think, I put up the video on Kickstarter, after I put the video up on Indiegogo, I'm done. Exactly the opposite. You have just started your biggest nightmare because now you have to deal with people. Before, all you dealt with was yourself. Maybe your co-founder was two of you in the garage talking to each other day in and day out, come up with your first prototype, come up with a video, but you never really talked to anybody else. Now you are asking people for money. And these people are going to give you money. Therefore, they expect you to answer their questions. They expect you to interact with them. They expect you to have day-to-day conversation with them. Guess what that means? You're now going to build a customer relationship management system of which you're going and saying, what is that? You're going to build one. You're going to build customer support systems. You are now going to build basically a bulletin board where you have a community system. You're now suddenly in a business that you did not even envision when you were starting with your idea. And as you go through this, you go through your successful crowdfunding campaign, you go like, excellent, I'm done. I've made my goal. I made $1 million. Woohoo. It just begins again. Why? Because now you actually have to make what you are promising. And this is the hardest part. The hardest part because you had a sandwich board before, and by luck of the draw, you have a friend who has a 3D printer, you come up with this 3D thing, but now you're actually going to have to build it. And building it is the hardest thing. You're now going to go and have to find a contract manufacturer, likely in China, in Kenzan probably, if it's hardware. If it's software, you're still going to have to find, your fellow, some fellow engineers with you. It's the beginning of real hard work. You're going to hear acronyms that you don't even want to hear or never cared about, like BOM. What's a BOM? It's bill of materials. It's like, how much is this? You're going to talk about vendors. You're going to talk about supply chains. You're going to talk about fulfillment. You're going to talk about distribution. It's going to be a process that is going to consume you. It is an all-consuming process. You are going to talk to not one, not two, not three, not four. You're going to talk to 5 contract manufacturers, maybe up to 10. And you're going to select one. And when you select that contract manufacturer, you want to make sure that they know what they're doing. Because what do these contract manufacturers do? They go over to you and say, like, oh, we got a great team here. They bring in all the top engineers. And you go say, we're picking that one. After you pick them, they all disappear. So you end up with your contract engineers who are not A players, they're not B players, they're maybe C, D, or even F players. So you got to make sure that contractually you're going to tell them, we want Mr. Chan, who was there in the proposal team, and we want to make sure that he's committed to this project. You have to make sure about almost everything. Another thing that I like to tell people is like, a lot of people who invent stuff have this paranoia. This product is so cool that I'm really afraid of taking it to China because the Chinese are going to copy it. Well, guess what? They will. So give it up. They will copy it. This a year before the iPhone 6 a year, I was in Shanghai, and in the subways of Shanghai, they were selling the iPhone 6 with an H. And it looked exactly like the iPhone 6 when it got released. So there's really no one who's really insulated from this phenomenon. It's really important for you to just internalize that somebody's going to copy it, and your number one defense is to be fast, to be furious, to have the conviction that you can do this. So I have been given a signal, a time signal, and one of my favorite things that I like to do when I give talks is I like to ask people what they want to ask questions. I want to make the last 5 minutes interactive. By the way, to those of you who want to get a hold of me, I'm easy to find. Just go on my LinkedIn page, or on Facebook, or on Twitter. It doesn't, or any which way. So with that, what I would like to do is perhaps go in a Q&A over here. This is a big room, so we might have some people asking questions. You all want to make your first great product. All right, who has a great product that's going to go to market and has a question? Come on, we got one over here, buddy.
Yobie, we have more time than that. That was just 5 minutes for speaking.
Don't worry, we'll take care of it. Okay. We got it covered. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, no, I don't have the question for the moment, but I will.
Okay, anybody? Oh, come on. This is too easy. Yeah, all right, we got one over there.
How do you know when a manufacturer actually tells you that doesn't do something? They actually know. How do you make sure that they follow through?
The question was, how do you know that a manufacturer can actually do what they said they could do? The only way you're going to do that is you're going to have to go to China. You're going to have to visit every single manufacturer. Don't ever believe somebody who calls you and says in email, send us prototype, we send you back, it's all good, man. No, don't ever believe that. You have to go there. You have to understand how they do it. Think about this. One of my products is an optical product. It means I need high precision optics in order to manufacture it. I've had like 15 contract manufacturers who say, we can do that. Then you go to their facilities, there is not a single line that does optics. And you go like, how are you going to do this? Well, we're going to build one. Guess who they're going to charge to build the line? You. So, what you want to do is work with people who actually already know the world of optics. So in China, when you go into these big contract manufacturers, what you'll see is bays. There are long lines. One line is Hewlett-Packard. One line is like HP, Dell. And side by side. One side's going to be Apple. One side's going to be X. And they're all different contract lines. These are all different lines. If you have a product that's an optical line, and that's an optical product, and you don't see that, don't go. The other thing is, you really have to be careful about your supplier base. When you create a product in China, you will have suppliers from 10, 20 different subcontractors. And you have to know exactly where they're coming from. So I'll give you an example. One of our products is, again, an optical product. So it has to be precise in the way the optics are placed. The problem is some of the optical subsystems, if you pick a vendor that's 50 miles away, and that optical subsystem is still not set, and the roads in China are not good, boom, 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 by the time it gets to your station, they put it on, and guess what? It's misaligned, dead. So even the distance between your contractors, your subcontractors is important. You can't just go and say, have it. The other thing that I will say, and this is probably biased, is I like contract manufacturers with offices here in the United States. In fact, if they have prototyping capabilities in the United States, I like that better. The reason behind that is the distance between China, okay, and San Francisco is going to be a nightmare. Try calling your a friend in China, or maybe not a friend, who speaks marginal English, trying to explain to them how to put one transistor from one place to another place over the phone or Skype. It doesn't get easy. From my point of view, I like the idea of like I can drive over to the prototyping facility in the Bay Area, I can look at it, and you figure out how to talk to China. But I talk to somebody directly here, and there are several contract manufacturers that are local. We have one there, sir. I can tell you that a company, Jabil is over here, Jabil. Flextronics is over here. Both of them have local facilities. A company called PCH is over in San Francisco. There are several companies in China that have realized that a presence in the United States is an important competitive advantage for them. Sir, over there. Mexico is awesome. Mexico is very competitive in assembly, but it depends on what you're really assembling. China, Mexico, pretty competitive in the assembly business, but it's not all about assembly sometimes. You need design capabilities. Mexico is not so, at least the places that I've seen in Mexico are not so competitive in engineering and design. They're very competitive in assembly, contract assembly. That's a little different. So any other questions? Ma'am? There are organizations that will help you go through it. HW Trek, T-R-E-K. Google that, HW Trek, and just mention my name. And what they do is they introduce you to, 10, 20, 30 contract manufacturers. If your product is interesting enough, they might even sponsor you to go to China to meet all these contract manufacturers. We were selected, went to China, delivered, and met 15 contract manufacturers on site. So it was very helpful. HW Trek. Any other questions? Oh, look, they're right there, the one with the yellow shirt, ma'am.
Yeah, if you already have someone lined up before you do crowdsourcing, do you find it's easier when you get to,
The question is, if you have somebody lined up to manufacture, correct, before you go crowdfunding, does it make it easier? No, because crowdfunding is all about sales. And really, even if you had contract manufacturers, 3, 4, 5 of them lined up, the question becomes still, who's going to buy the product? Who's going to buy it? The fact you have a contract manufacturer, that's great, but somebody's got to buy the product. More important, again, is focus on building a community around your product. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. That's a great question, and there's really no easy answer to that one. The question was, where do you get your 150,000 followers as you build out community? Really, the quick answer to that is public relations. I mean, another thing you're going to invest in, I almost forgot, is public relations. You have no advertising budget. You don't have $500,000 sitting down there to buy Google ads or Facebook ads. Guess what? It's going to have to begin with your own social network. And that's why I say it's a 3 to 6 month project before you crowdfund. Because building up that base of community members is probably one of the most difficult parts of the crowdfunding process. Oh, I have 1 minute, 2 questions. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. This is easy. All right.
I have a question.
One. Get one there and then that one. Sir.
You have to have a network of 150,000 that you need to develop a strong mailing list. What tactics do you get? Because let's say you have 150,000 likes, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to give you their money. How do you build that mailing list?
So the question is like, how do you actually build? 150,000 likes is not 150,000 followers. That's number one. Yeah, 150,000 likes in Facebook doesn't really mean you have 150,000 followers. Again, that's one of those questions that really has no easy answer. It's about working it every day. and when you look at both Avegant, Skully Helmets, Nixie, which is flynixie.com, it was a superb amount of elbow grease, nonstop monitoring of groups. Like, for example, in Skully Helmets, we monitored every motorcycle riding group in the United States. We actually called all the clubs. We sent emails to all the clubs. We had promotions for club members. You have to be somewhat creative in it. Yes, sir.
So earlier when you talked about problem solving, finding a problem to solve, do you have a methodology for doing that?
So do I have a methodology for trying to figure out a product and what that product is solving for, a problem that the product is solving for? No, not really. To me, I do a lot. Mine is instinctual. My work, for example, with Aaron over here for this chip has been inspired by the fact that one day I went to a place called, and you probably know, Quest Diagnostics. They poked me over here. They took out like 4 vials of blood, and they sent me a bill for like $700. And I said, forget this. We're going to do this. So, so we're not going to do that. So a lot of this is inspiration. And by the way, never be afraid to reach out to anyone. To those of you who say, oh, I don't know that guy. You don't even know. Dude, email is free. You can always send email. And if it doesn't work with one email, try 2. It's still free. Okay? 3 is still free. So with that, thank you very much, everybody. It was great.